Scrambled eggs are, of course, fantastic at breakfast, but they're also delicious if you have them for lunch or dinner. You just have to be a little bit more creative with it and change it up with the sauces. So I'm going to do a curried scrambled eggs and serve it with a little bit of roti. I'm going to make the sauce to start with 3 spring onions, and I'll just finely chop them. I'm just using some of the dark green part of the spring onions because there's lots of flavour there too. I'll turn on the heat, just on a very medium to low heat because I don't want this to burn, I just want it to sweat. I'll add some coconut oil. I want the taste of the coconut oil to come through with these eggs. So I'll start with about a teaspoon and just melt that. And while that's melting away, I'll add the spring onions. Start cooking them. Then I'll add some garlic, 2 cloves of garlic, and I'll mince that directly into our coconut oil. All right, and we'll just tap that on the side. Now some ginger. You can mince the ginger, but I'm going to finely slice it into julienne. I'll use half of this. Gather them together in little piles. This is a great little knife skill here. And then finely slice it, just so we get little strands of this ginger. Perfect. And then we want to warm it through and mellow it down. So we'll add this to our oil now and then give that a mix. And now that that's getting a little bit of colour, let's get onto these tomatoes. I'll take them off the stalk and I'll cut them in half and in quarters. I'll take the core out and then just cut it into chunky bits of tomato, because this is going to break down when it hits the heat. I want it to break down a little bit, but also hold its shape. So by cutting it like this, you can control it in the pan so it doesn't turn into a puree. So don't finely chop this, and then we'll add that to the hot oil and give it a toss. Beautiful. All right, fry them off, almost like stir-fried tomatoes at this stage, but I want to impart some heat now, so a little bit of chilli. I'll finely slice it, seeds and all, about half of this chilli. Fantastic. Now I'm only going to use 1 spice for this, and this is a really common spice in Indian cooking, Garam Masala. It's a combination of ground coriander, ground cumin, there's cardamom, there's many different varieties of it. So a pinch in now, just for it to toast off. And I'll add another teaspoon of coconut oil, just so we start to glaze those tomatoes. Perfect. And now the last thing I'll add to this is some turmeric. Turmeric has a wonderful flavour, dried or fresh. I'm lucky enough to get my hands on some fresh turmeric. If you can't find it, you can just use the dried turmeric. And I'll use my fine grater again. Again, tapping that. And be really careful when you're using the fresh turmeric because it stains quite easily. That vibrant orange colour comes out everywhere. All right, that's looking good. I'm going to cook that for a few more minutes. And while that's sizzling away, give it about 2 minutes, we can get on with the eggs. 6 Sunny Queen free-range eggs. I'll crack them directly into a bowl. And usually when I'm doing my scrambled eggs, I would use some cream just to make it really creamy. But instead of using classic cream, I'll use coconut cream. Gives it, of course, that coconut flavour, but it also does impart that creaminess, which works a treat, and it goes with all the other flavours that we're using for this recipe. And I'll season it with a pinch of salt and our coconut cream. A few spoonfuls. You can use coconut milk also, but I like the thickness of this. Now with your whisk, mix it all up together. Now when you're whisking your eggs, make sure that all of the egg is combined with the egg white. Your result will be 10 times better because you'll get that really fluffy effect. All right, let's start cooking the eggs. We'll use our coconut oil one more time, a small amount. I'd never want my eggs to overcook, so control this by having on a low to medium heat. That way, you'll be able to cook your eggs and be able to see when they're ready and when they're not ready. I always prefer to undercook them and just turn it up a little bit as opposed to making them really tough with a high heat. This is looking fantastic. See how much liquid has come out of those tomatoes? And there's still a little bit of texture. We'll turn that off and that's ready to go. Also, I'm serving this with some roti, but you could use naan or just good old classic bread works a treat. I'll just warm that through. So I like to have everything under control before I start cooking the eggs because, like I said, it takes no time at all. To serve, some lime, coriander, and some gorgeous coconut flakes that I've toasted. All right, this oil has warmed up nicely, so we'll pour in our eggs. So once you've poured it in, give this about 3 or 4 seconds, or just until it starts to set around the side of the pan. Then I'll bring in the sides, pretty much bringing in the set scrambled eggs and allowing the raw egg to cook. So just keep stirring, shaking the pan. This is when a non-stick pan is so useful because you want to actually lift the curds from the base of the pan so it stays really cloudy and fluffy. We're going to multitask here. Now we're going to turn our bread over. It's nicely toasted on one side. And then shake. And then keep folding until it's ready. Now these are almost cooked, so this is the perfect time to take it off the heat. The pan's really hot, so it'll continue cooking. We'll bring the eggs over here. And the roti is cooked. And I'll cut that in half. We'll just place that on our plate. I'm going to serve up one portion for me. Oh, I can smell that coconut cream and coconut oil that's mixed in. And you can see they're really glossy, which is exactly how scrambled eggs should be. And now for our Indian style tomatoes. We'll just top that generously, almost nestle it into the eggs. So when you bite into it, you're getting a mixture of fluffy, cloudy eggs and this really interesting, rich tomato sauce. Now for the garnish, 2 sprigs of coriander can sit on top. You can mix that in too, along with the crunchiness of the coconut that's been toasted. And then just a wedge of lime on the side. And you can choose if you want to squeeze that over or not. Wow, scrambled eggs. Yeah, they're fantastic for breakfast. They're also fantastic to jazz up and have it for a really easy lunch or dinner.